All right, gang, we're back for week 10 of the M&M Show. I got George with me. George, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. A real good week of football. We're getting into what week 10 at this point.
Week 10. The season's almost over. Fantasy seasons are coming
Whew.
to a wrap. Our league, there's just not a clear front runner. You're out there top of our league right now, but it is tight all around. We've got, I think, five people tied at 5-4, just log jamming it up for those final couple playoff spots. So it's going to be an interesting finish to the season. We're back here with week 10 to give you some of the fantasy news from last week. Trying to figure out what's going on with Adam Thielen and those Vikings, right? They keep winning games. My receivers aren't getting anything. So we're here to talk about it. So, George, you excited? You with me?
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right, welcome back. So, again, we're here in week 10. Been a great fantasy week. George, what has you most excited from last week?
Oh, just from an excited perspective, I try and just stick with players that I actually own. I'm in 7 leagues.
So there's plenty to
I,
choose from.
I'm excited. Well, you'd be surprised. We've done this for 10 weeks now, so I'm running out of new things to talk about. But I'm excited to get Miles Sanders back. I'm excited to get Carson Wentz back. I'm excited to get a lot of the Jalen Reagor. I'm excited to see how the Eagles can perform, especially playing the Giants.
Yeah, you would think I actually went and picked them up. Somebody dropped them in our league, and I had an extra spot. And so I said, whoop, I'm going to pick up that defense and stash them for next week. So looking forward to starting Philly this weekend as my defense. So not something I do often, but I was streaming the Cardinals defense thinking they're bound to have a great game against Miami. And Tua showed up and Miami showed up, injuries and all, and said, no, we got this. So, and the Cardinals can't seem to figure out. They beat Seattle one week and lose to Detroit and Miami and a rookie quarterback. I don't understand what's going on in the NFL.
Yeah, I'm the kind of guy that I like to take a bet on, especially when you have this many teams. Just take a bet on a defense, stick with them. So in other words, I had Tampa Bay for
And you got
all
burned.
all but one league, and even if I get like maybe like 5 more points if I alternate defenses like over the span of like a year, I still rather have Tampa Bay. It's the same with James Robinson. I have him in every league. So for me to get rid of him, I'm going to need somebody that's even better of a value than him because it's just easier for me to keep track of, for me to manage. But the one defense that I have that's not Tampa Bay, because somebody else picked them up before me, is the Eagles, and they're doing really well this year for me.
They are, yeah, absolutely. Tampa Bay's been pretty good all year, but they got burned last week.
They got burned. That was vintage Drew Brees.
That was vintage Drew Brees. That was very vintage Drew Brees. So it'll be interesting. So let's do a real quick check-in on our bets. George got me. So we had a pretty close one going in to the Sunday, or I don't even know about Sunday Night Football, to the games this past week. You had Allen Robinson. You had Big Ben out there, and James Robinson, and so you were doing pretty well. And you know what? Everything was looking great for me except James Conner could not perform against Dallas. I mean, and let's be real, Dallas, look, they lost that game, but you cannot be, as a Dallas fan, you cannot be upset about the showing against a superior Pittsburgh team.
No, they brought it. I mean, their defense was pretty solid. Their special teams was solid. They put together a really good game. It's really hard with James Conner because he's not really that guy. Like he's not that guy that's like he's got diva status where if I don't get the ball enough, I'm gonna freak out. He was, if anything, he was telling. I heard a story where he told Juju not to dance in the end zone so they wouldn't get a penalty. So he's just that guy that he just cares if they're gonna win, if the team's doing well. So
I get that, but I think he had 11 carries for like 22 yards. Ugh,
yeah,
5-point game on me, not where I want to be. So you got me, and we're 2-2 on those games. But we also went 500 on our pick'em, so we've got that going for us. And then just to check in on our bet. So we had that DJ Moore and Jonathan Taylor bet. Now, how many points did I spot you on that?
Oh, I forget at this point. I think it was, I'd have to look it up. I think he gave me about, let's just say 20 in
All
a
right,
PPR.
if I gave you 20, it is going to be a close one as we finish out the season. So DJ Moore's on 117 points. Jonathan Taylor's on 101.4. And you got to be real with this. I'm worried about Taylor. First off, let me tell you something. Frank Reich, not a friend of the show right now. Stop benching my boy. I know he fumbled against the Ravens. It was the rookie who's had fumble problems his whole career. It's his first fumble of the season. He had scored a touchdown. He was running well against the Ravens. Let me tell you something. You took Jonathan Taylor out, and then you played like garbage and lost the game. Get my boy back in.
Yeah, I mean, I've said before about how I'm worried about Jonathan Taylor. I have him in most of my leagues. Um, I'm still a big believer in his talent. He looked really good when he was out there running. He just made a mistake and kind of paid for it. Didn't really see a lot of touches after that.
I think he had one carry after that. One carry. He had 7 carries the whole game. Frank, get it together. Get your boy back in the game. Let's get him some confidence. Ridiculous. He was running great. You were dominating that game. You took him out. Your fault, Frank. Figure it out. Stop ruining my team. All right. So now that I've gotten my Colts anger off my chest this week, let's move on to George. All right. So who's got you really excited? You mentioned Carson Wentz. You mentioned who was the other? Jalen Rager. Who's
Yeah.
got you really excited this week? Who's your quarterback that you're like, this is the pick to click? This is my guy. You sticking with Wentz there?
All right. So what I'm trying to do is because I picked Wentz before. I'm trying to pick people that I own in one of my leagues, and I'm trying to pick people. I'm trying to not repick people over again.
Okay.
So I was excited about what I saw from Drew Brees.
Oh, yeah.
And so Drew Brees is going to be my guy, particularly if we are in a situation where it is a total quarterback rating and we're factoring in some of those gadget plays that are happening too.
Yeah,
He's that
Drew Brees isn't a bad pick there.
like Taysom Hill. If Taysom Hill is like, if you're on a total quarterback league and Taysom Hill is counting for all his rushing yards and all of his throwing yards, like you're in even better shape. But still, I go with Drew Brees. He only really stopped the production because he was so far ahead
Yeah,
yesterday.
they were
I think
dominant.
Jameis Winston came in as like a revenge game.
Yeah, little revenge game there. My QB this week, I'm gonna go a little off radar here. I'm gonna count on my boy Philip Rivers having a bounce back game. Didn't have a great game against the Ravens. Through what was officially called an interception. Granted, he shouldn't have underthrown it, but like, come on now, you can't be calling that a pick. That's not a pick. That's not a pick in the NFL.
Mhm.
That's no wide receiver is getting credit for that catch. That's not a pick. So, but I'm going to take Rivers to have a bounce back game here against Tennessee, and the Colts need it. So they've got to figure that out. I expect the tight ends to have a lot of cachet there in that game as well. Who's your running back you're taking this week? You already picked. You've had James Robinson. Who are you going with now? You
So
going to
I'm
pick my
running.
boy Taylor to have a comeback game?
So I already picked Taylor. We're in week 10, so I'm trying. I'm really scrapping at the bottom of the
Scraping the
barrel
bottom of the
here.
barrel here.
Um, I I am looking forward to feeling better about the fact that I picked Miles Sanders in the third round in my 10-team PPR. Hoping for Miles Sanders to have a comeback game against the Giants. He has a really good opportunity to do so. I'm going with Miles Sanders this week.
That is a bit of a bold pick. I do like that one. I like Miles Sanders to have a good game there. I think that's a spot where he's gonna he might have a
I'm
little bit
hoping
of,
he's back
yeah,
because
a
I
bit of
don't know that for
cachet.
sure. Yeah.
Well, right. Well, that's the funny part is I was actually looking at taking. It's funny that you mentioned. I hope you're hoping he's back. I was looking at taking. Oh my god, Chris Carson, and I'm like, I'm not sure if he's going to be back.
Mm-hmm.
So I was looking at a couple different guys that are having some comeback games this week, and I I don't necessarily love a matchup against the Rams, but I think Seattle will have a nice game in that one. I think they'll try to grind it out a little bit, especially with how poorly they played against Buffalo. Man, this ends up being a tough one for me. I think, and the other guy I was looking at picking was Joe Mixon. He's also like banged up. I don't know if he's going to be back. A lot of injuries right now. A lot of guys that you're out there going, man, they're 50-50. We just don't know what the situation is here. Man, let's go with Donald. Let's go with Ronald Jones to have a game over there against Carolina. I'm going a little off the charts here, a little outside the norm. But we'll see how Ronald Jones treats me there against Carolina.
I
I like
like
the fact
Ronald
that
Jones.
I like that he can catch the ball out of the backfield as well. And I think Fournette's had a chance to take that job, and I don't think he's going to. So
Yeah, I like Ronald Jones. I have him in one of my leagues too, one of my dynasty leagues actually, and yeah, Fournette's an issue. So that's a bold pick. I can see that working out for you.
yeah, who's your receiver this week?
All right, so again, trying to pick people I haven't picked before, running out of receivers. It's a little bit of a homer pick, but I'm going to go Devontae Adams because I haven't picked him yet, and he's just solid every week.
All right, I'm actually going to change up my running back pick. And I'm actually going to go with Aaron Jones because I like your I'm picking a guy that is on my team, and Aaron Jones is back on my team for his second stint this year.
Yeah,
So
give yourself an extra reason to root for them. Like, don't pick people
right
for this that aren't actually in your league.
in my squad, yeah.
Yeah.
If that's the case, I think from a receiving standpoint, and I like this pick here. I'm going to go with Stephon Diggs to have himself a game. Another guy that I've got on my team, and I need to see him do well. I've picked Thielen a couple times. I've stuck by him, and I'm giving up on him. I went out, traded for him, and I know like Washington had their struggles, but I thought like awesome, they're going to continue to be behind in games. I don't really care if Kirk Cousins is any good. Then your boy Dalvin Cook came back and just like the receivers there are no longer relevant. Like Thielen was a top 5 receiver. He was number 5 receiver in the league when I went and got him. And he had his bye week, so whatever, he's going to come down a little bit. And he's had back-to-back 5-point games since then.
Yeah. I was excited about Stephon Diggs. Like he was actually the person I wrote down before I looked myself hard in the mirror and was like, all right, let's just pick people that you have. And then I switched him out for Devontae Adams, but I very easily could have picked Steph Diggs. He's been pretty consistent.
Super consistent. He's averaged, I think, 17 points a game, maybe 18. He's going to get 7-8 catches every game, 100 yards. He's safe for that. I just need, if he could get in the end zone more, we're talking about a guy who's just blowing up.
Oh yeah.
And I need that out of him. I need some blow up games because I've got to figure out how to get in the playoffs here at the end of the season. So, we'll see what's happening out there. Who are you worried about? Who's giving you the jitters out there?
So I'll start with my wide receiver, and part of this is his injury history and the potential he showed and how high I had him ranked on the offseason, as well as his quarterback's health. That's Deontay Johnson of the Steelers. It feels like he's really explosive when he's in there, but now Big Ben's on COVID watch. And unfortunately, Big Ben is my main quarterback in a league or two too. And there's just too many mouths to feed in the Steelers offense. So I'm highly concerned with Deontay Johnson for the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think I understand that. I look at Deontay Johnson. If I'm going to give a receiver, I mean, I could take the whole Colts receiving core. And I know I just picked Rivers to have a big game. But luckily, Rivers, it just seems like he finds guys. But, like, they're injured. You got T.Y. Hilton's been off all year. We got Pittman back. But, like, outside of Pittman, it's just not looking great there. And they've got to figure that out. The receiver I will take, and man, I actually, if I look it up, I may have had the same guy last week. Let me double check and make sure I'm not just fully picking on him. I don't have it written down, but I'm gonna go with Thielen. And really, again, you could translate this to Jefferson as well. If
Yep.
if Dalvin Cook's going to be this good, why run the ball or why throw the ball? Kirk Cousins just throws picks. Don't throw the ball. Rack up
Yeah.
200 yards with Dalvin Cook and win the football game. Everybody wins.
Yeah, I think I might have previous week. I might have picked Jefferson too because he is such a wild card. He's just so explosive some weeks, and then some weeks he only has a couple of catches for like 50 yards.
Yeah, the other guy that you could easily go with is Malcolm Brown because he's now starting to channel his cousin or whatever, Antonio Brown, and you know you hear him starting to chirp about how he's not getting the ball enough, and yeah, Lamar's over there saying, yeah, it's my bad, but man, like that, you don't like to see that discord there. It's not. I mean, that's not good for a lasting relationship of two young guys there. So we'll see what happens there. Who's the quarterback that's got you worried?
So I have picked this person before, but I only have so many quarterbacks. I'm concerned about Lamar Jackson still. He's just not getting it done. I used him as my second keeper in a league where I'm struggling right now. And I could have used Devontae Adams as a keeper. So I'm really feeling. Uh, to me, it's like the amount I invested in that person, and that was effectively a second round pick for me. And he's just not getting it done. He's not getting it done from the air. He's not getting it done with his legs. Baltimore as a whole is not really getting anything done when it comes to other than the occasional Gus Edwards touchdown. Not really much to see there. So yeah, definitely Lamar Jackson is a concern of mine because they continue to win without him performing all that well.
Yeah, yeah. Well, yeah. I'm gonna go with Baker Mayfield. He's on the COVID watch list. He's had a rough year all year. OBJ's injured. And again, they're winning games, and I get that, but I just, man, you've got to have some concern there. And I have questions on. I mean, they're playing at home, but Houston's bad, but I have questions on if they're really going to be able to beat Houston this week, especially if they're downgrading to a backup quarterback. I mean, a lot of question marks there on that team.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that one. He's to me he was always just like a lower level QB2. I don't know how many folks were starting him, but if they were, then I would be highly concerned when I do
Yeah.
for a spot start. I know there's a lot of bye weeks coming up.
Yep. Who's the running back that's got you concerned?
Uh, let's put this man on a missing poster. Put him on a milk carton. James White.
Uh,
Uh,
yeah.
the man. The man. I was so excited when I got James White in my draft. I figured that maybe just maybe Cam can do some of the action that he has with Christian McCaffrey, where he's just dumping the ball off. He's just throwing the ball to his running back. Um, James White, or at the very least, a New England Patriot running back, has always been top 20, no problem. At least one of them. And I thought James White was definitely going to be one of those people, and he's just it's just awful. I'm ready to drop him in a couple leagues.
Yeah, you almost have to. I'm surprised you haven't. I'm going to go with Mark Ingram. He's been hurt, and he hasn't had a good year anyway. I think he's averaging 7 fantasy points a game right now.
Mm-hmm.
And that's in a PPR league. And obviously catching out of the backfield is not his forte. But like the Ravens are supposed to be, I think they were the top running team in the NFL. And that must be all on Lamar Jackson's legs because it's obviously not on Ingram. And like Dobbins isn't in there, you know what I mean? Like putting up tons of yards, neither is Gus Edwards. But Gus, I think, is probably going to be the lead back even when Ingram gets healthy. So maybe he won't, but I don't know there. The way Gus Edwards has been playing, I don't know that you just immediately say, all right, well, it's Mark's job now. Like he might be done.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. The league that I still have him in actually is a 14-teamer. And when we go to players to pick up, I might be able to give you a little bit of a hint on somebody I unfortunately dropped uh, instead of him, and I'm paying for it now.
Interesting. It'll be interesting to see who that is, and if we'll see what league that happened in, George. I wonder if somebody might already have them on their pickup list right now. Just a shot in the dark. So let's let's move to that. Who are you picking up this week, George?
So players to pick up. I am super excited about the prospect of using Drew Lock
Hmm.
as a very serviceable QB2, low end QB2. You're not really giving up too much by utilizing him. He had another really solid week this week. I think he had a run in touchdown and he had 2 passing touchdowns around 300 yards. Drew Lock, if he's still out there, he is the real deal. Go pick him up.
I like Drew Lock. I like Drew Lock out there. Is that your guy? Is that the person that you're disappointed you dropped? Is he the
No,
one?
no. Do you want to? So my guys are a receiver. Did you want to go to quarterback, or you want me to go right to receiver? Can you not wait
Uh,
any longer?
well, let me tell you. I mean, quarterbacks are tough out there. There's not much out there from a quarterback perspective. It's rough going. Some leagues, Derek Carr is available, so that's not bad if you're just looking for a streaming candidate. Same with if you need a quarterback this week, Jared Goff is a decent pickup against a porous Seattle defense.
Mhm.
So that might be a good option for you too. Think about Buffalo. Jared Allen had been like looking just all sorts of bad, couldn't complete 50% of passes, and then went out and had himself a game last week. So that'll be an interesting spot as just a spot start there. And then maybe Tua is somebody that you could look to start against the Chargers as well. So those are all guys that I think maybe you could go get and start and be serviceable in a streaming scenario. Probably not people you want to lead on for the rest of the season though.
Yeah, so I'm looking up the stats right now in Yahoo leagues, and I don't have any Yahoo leagues, but this is just with the information I have in front of me. Derek Carr is owned in 42% of leagues. Drew Lock is owned in 9% of leagues.
So
Tua,
Lock will likely be available, huh?
oh yeah, Tua's available too. He's owned in 6% of leagues. So
Yeah, Tua is super available. Derek Carr 60% of ESPN leagues, Goff in 40%, Tua in 28. So
what
uh,
about Lock?
all pretty available guys. I'm not seeing Lock on my list. I'm guessing he's already rostered in our league. That's where I'm looking at this.
Wow. Oh yeah,
Wonder
because
who
I
has
did.
him. Yeah,
I have him.
look at
I started him this week.
look at you go.
Yep.
You're gonna go get Mason Rudolph next, right? So, um, Joe, don't start Mason Rudolph. It's a bad idea. Even if Big Ben's not playing, bad idea. He's gonna throw balloons. All right, who's your running back or wide receiver? Who you got next?
Wide receiver, I am super bummed that I dropped Bashard Perriman. I hung
Mm.
on to the man for 9 long, agonizing weeks. I decided to drop him, and he explodes with Drew, Joe Flacco as his quarterback. And somebody else picked him up for a little bit more extra money this morning, and I completely just lost him.
And he had some games where he was playing okay as well. Here's the thing I'm gonna tell you, and don't feel too bad about that because I truly believe, God honest truth, I don't think Joe Flacco is a long term answer there, and I don't think that magically that's gonna happen week in week out.
Yeah, I drafted him pretty early because of just what he looked like in Tampa Bay, thinking he was going to be something, and he just kind of sat on my bench for a long, long time. And push came to shove, and I had to pick somebody up. I actually needed a tight end because Kelsey's on bye this week, so I picked up Higbee a week early, and I had to drop somebody, and I decided between James White and Perriman, I dropped Perriman because I are you stronger at wide receiver? Or are you stronger at quarterback or running back? It depends on like what your roster looks like.
Got
But
it. No,
I'm
that
kicking myself.
that makes sense. Here's a guy that I think is probably worthy of going and getting, and it's not because I believe in New England, but if you look at Jacoby Myers, he did nothing early in the season, and then he's got in the last 3 weeks, okay, in a PPR league, his stats are 10.2, 13.8, and then blew up against the Jets, 12 for 169, didn't even have a touchdown, so that's almost 30 points, 28.9. Now he's starting to warm up to Cam, and Harry's done. Nobody cares about Harry anymore. He's out. I don't know if he's going to play much. I don't know that he's a long-term candidate to really even stay in New England, which is sad because I think he's got talent. I just don't think they're using him right. So we'll see if he can be talented elsewhere. But I think Jacoby Myers is a guy that you can pick up because there's been nobody in New England. If they have somebody that's better than the nobody they've had, um, in general. The other guy, and I don't think, again, not a long-term fit, and it's definitely risky, but Richie James just had a monster game with San Francisco because everybody's hurt. Now, I think they've already taken Brandon Ayuk off of the COVID list and got him ready to go back in the game or go back to start this week. But that's a guy that, like, San Francisco is so heavily injured at so many positions that, like, somebody's got to get the ball. And if he's there, like, even if it's just Ayuk and him, you might be able to, like, get some points out of him. Or maybe even look at a guy like Ayuk, who I doubt is owned in a ton of leagues. But for retrospect, or for just looking at it, he's only owned in 0.5% of leagues. So he is heavily available, as is Jacoby Myers.
Yeah, and if I could throw out another wide receiver that I would pick up if they're available still, Curtis Samuel is really coming on.
Yeah, I'd be shocked if he's available, but yes, I'm with you.
I mean, 29% of leagues, Yahoo leagues, he's rostered in, and I have a league in particular I'm thinking of where my buddy dropped him before he had this big game this week. So you'd be surprised if Curtis Samuel's out there, pick him up.
Yep, nope, I agree with that. If he's out there, he is a guy to go get for sure, for sure. All right, who's the running back out there that's got you titillated?
Titillated. So my 14-teamer, he's been serviceable for me. He always seems to get a touchdown, and to your point, he seems to be one of the only successful Ravens running backs. But Gus Edwards, Gus the Bus, go and pick him up. Sorry, it's a little light in running back when it comes to like week 10. But Gus Edwards, Yahoo leagues, 37% owned. And he's definitely worth picking up because I don't think Mark Ingram, even if he does come back healthy, I don't think he's the same guy as he was last year.
No, I think that's obvious. I'm going to give you a couple here. Tevin Coleman looks like he's going to come back, and if he can stay healthy, again, San Francisco, like, nobody's healthy. So you who was it? You had, what's that guy? Jay McMurray or whatever, isn't it? McHasty.
Yep.
I don't know that and McKinnon are the only two guys there. So unless Mostert or Wilson Jr. can come back, even then, you got to think that Tevin Coleman's going to be in the mix. Remember, he was a guy who was a Super Bowl contender, scored in the Falcons Super Bowl when they lost in epic fashion to the Patriots with Shanahan as his offensive coordinator. So we know Shanahan likes him if he can just stay healthy. Another guy that I think is worth looking at and possibly picking up, sadly, is Jordan Wilkins, if he's going to end up being the lead back in Indianapolis. But that's very, very risky because you just don't know what's going on with you just don't know really what's going on with the Colts running backs right now. So
yeah, there's a chance you have a running back that like is performing better, like maybe a Zach Moss or like somebody that just seems to find the end zone every game and is a little bit more consistent. Is going to get the touches. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor is just not where he needs to be as far as reliability is concerned.
yeah, nope, agree with that. Another guy that I think a couple guys that you can look at as well. Keep an eye on Chris Carson's health because Seattle's going to try to run the ball, whether it's with DJ Dallas or Carlos Hyde. So figure out whichever back is going to start there because that might be a decent start against. I'm trying to remember who they're playing. It's blanking on me. But that's a spot. Oh, they're playing the Rams, so that's a spot where you could maybe find some success as well if Chris Carson's not playing. He's obviously rostered in most leagues. So another one randomly out there again, depending on health of Joshua Kelly and Justin Jackson. Kalen Ballage had a nice game this week with the Chargers. Don't expect it to happen every week, but again, when you start seeing these health issues come up, these are guys who, you know what I mean, as it gets towards Sunday, available in a lot of leagues. So if you've got a spot on your roster where you're just stashing somebody that, like, you don't know why, go get one of those guys and see if they're there for you. So
yeah, Justin Jackson was concussed. So hopefully he's able to play because he's been really solid. But this is the week if there's anybody in particular you've had your eyes on that's got a bye week, like take them the extra week early and just like grab them so you have them. Like I know I did that with like a couple of folks like Dallas Goddard.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I saw
to,
that.
to to make sure I get that person, like even though I can't use them for a week or two. Get them while you can. Think about a week ahead a time or 2 weeks even. That way you're not surprised when the bye weeks come up.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. All right. Well, that's I think the most juice we're gonna get out of that squeeze. George, what had you just surprised this week? Give me your biggest surprise from the week that was week 9.
Biggest surprise has got to be the Bucks getting destroyed by the
Yeah.
Saints. Even though I predicted it, I'm gonna tell you a secret. I didn't
Saying the
actually
Saints,
predict it.
yeah, saying the Saints are gonna win versus saying the Saints are going to destroy Tom Brady, two different things. The Saints winning that game, sure. Saints destroying the Bucks, didn't see that coming.
No.
Didn't see that coming. I'm with you. That was my biggest surprise from the week that was. So, George, awesome being here with you. Make sure you all stick around for our next segment on the Pick'ems. I think we did better than last week, but we'll see. Appreciate y'all. Eminem Nation.